Okay,
Hello.
Hello.
Goodbye.
Hello.
In fact, in this case, goodbye.
All right, phase 2 of Reckless Speculation Thursday. I love the way Judd coined this in our text thread last night. Hey, Doogie's out, so what can we give the people? What if we threw it back old school? The birth of Reckless Speculation, which Declan actually found audio of that will play later in Old Tweets Exposed. The birth of Reckless Speculation Thursday was actually us just like throwing out trade scenarios. That if we were the GM of the Twins or whatever, this is what we would do. And we will have some audio of that kind later in the show. But I would love to present to you guys. Let's go around the room here. I want to start because I have a Viking scenario for you guys that I just would love to get your thoughts on. But let's just throw some stuff out there that if we were running the show or if we could pull the strings, what are some things that we would float or do with our Minnesota sports teams? All right?
Reckless Speculation.
So I would love to present to you guys the Minnesota Vikings in 2024.
Okay.
IMAX. 3D goggles. The Vikings in 2000.
24.
Speculation.
With that guy with a great voice, the Minnesota Vikings.
2000.
So I have like a 10-point plan for the Vikings over the next 2 years. So they've already kind of made their bed with some of this stuff, and I'm going to take what they've done so far, and now I'm the captain now. I'm the captain now.
You've taken over the Viking ship.
Yes.
Okay.
So stop me at any point as I go through this checklist of things, how I would mold the Vikings leading up to 2024, okay?
Okay.
Let's start with the first one here. So 2022, I think, is going to be similar, not necessarily to 2021. I think it's actually more similar to 2019 for the Vikings. I do think they're going to, like, if Danielle Hunter comes back healthy, I love the Zadarius Smith signing. Bringing Patrick Peterson back actually makes the cornerback room a lot more stable. Like, he's just, by all measurements, a league average cornerback, which it's not like a knock on it. You need that in this room right now. So I think health, coaching, chemistry, I think they're going to go from 8 wins to like 9 or 10. I think they're fighting for a wild card spot. And maybe even, the NFC East, for instance, is kind of a train wreck. Like, the NFC is spotty enough to where if you get into the playoffs, you might be able to win a road playoff game. So step one is sort of what is the reality of 2022?
Okay.
I think it is closer to 2019 for the Vikings, where you're not a Super Bowl contender, but you're a good team, 9 or 10 wins, maybe you can win a playoff game. Okay?
Okay.
Let me stop there. Is there any wildly different thoughts from you guys on this upcoming season?
I'm not as optimistic because I think that the Smith contract means that they have no real confidence he's not going to get hurt again or have problems with that back. But like, it wouldn't shock me if they're a playoff team. I mean, there's 7 seeds now. So I don't know that I have confidence that they're going to be a good team, but the reality is the 7 seeds often not a good team now. So yes, they could basically just back into the playoffs and it wouldn't be surprising.
Hell, the Eagles are rebuilding and made the playoffs.
Exactly.
So
You can do that.
You can get in. So that happens. They sneak in, wild card, whatever. They're competitive, like always. But the difference is, next off season, this front office now there's nowhere to run and hide. Now there's no like, well, what if we did this? Like, the glass ceiling of this roster with the age of some of the players that you're bringing back, the Harrison Smiths, the Adam Thielens, the Eric Kendricks, is even more glaring because now they're even further into their 30s. And everyone, including ownership, starts to realize, all right, we ran it back. It was better, but ultimately it wasn't good enough. It wasn't Super Bowl caliber. And so next off season, the Vikings start to move off guys via trade, free agency, and release. Eric Kendricks gone, Dalvin Cook gone, probably via trade. This is in a year from now. Jordan Hicks on that, what it was like kind of a 1-year deal that he signed. He's 30 years old. Thanks for playing for a year. Gone. Patrick Peterson, Harrison Smith, like all these dudes who are in their 30s or in Dalvin Cook's case, a highly paid running back, gone via trade, free agency, and or release. All right? And the Vikings use that open cap space, whatever's left. They're going to have a lot of dead money and things. They don't have a ton of cap space for 23, but they can create some more. And the players that they sign a year from now are going to be age 27 or younger, They're going to
Okay.
be multi-year contract guys, 2-3 years of guarantees to help open a 3-year window, 2023-4 into like 2026. This offseason, they're committing to guys that are mostly older. Harrison Phillips is younger, and that's great.
Right.
But they're going to make a more concerted effort to get way younger in a year from now.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'll stop there. Any other?
Nope.
Any
Oh no,
complaints
but
Okay.
you're in charge now too. So like you're just
Mhm.
asking if we agree with your opinion, and yes,
Yep.
yes, that's I like this phase of the plan. So
Okay. So with
I'm in
that,
agreement.
Reckless
now we're heading into
speculation.
2023 draft, and the Vikings inform at that point soon to be 35-year-old Kirk Cousins. Listen, man, it's been a fun run here. We've been competitive for 5 years, but we keep hitting the same glass ceiling, and it's not all your fault, man. We definitely want you around in 2023. I mean, it's not really our choice, quite frankly, because you have a full ironclad contract and no trade clause. But we are going to prep you in Kansas City Chiefs style 5 years ago for the first-round draft pick that we are going to make. It will be a quarterback. So probably not going to start him right away, might not even start him all year. But there will be a replacement quarterback drafted in the first round in 2023, Kirk. So you got the whole offseason to sort of wrap your head around that, to take notes, to plan, and then to think about what your options are beyond 2023. Just prep him. Be honest up front. This is what's going to happen, okay?
He'd prefer a colonoscopy, but yes,
Right. I mean, he'd prefer Sean Mannion in the quarterback room, but instead it might be somebody
I
else.
hear what you're saying. Yeah.
Now this is a lot like what the Chiefs did. Like, hey, we're competitive with Alex Smith. Now they were more competitive. They were like 11 wins and like I think they won a couple playoff games with Alex Smith. The difficult part is because the Vikings in my scenario just won 9 or 10 games in 2022, they're not drafting in the top 5 or 10. They're drafting between 15 and 20th somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to have to find a way, because there's probably going to be 4 or 5 quarterbacks that in that draft that might go in the top 15. You got to find a way to get your ass up into the top 10 if you want one of those dudes, which won't be as difficult because as I took over the reins, I traded back this year from 12th to 20th with the Pittsburgh Steelers so they could get Malik Willis, and I acquired an extra 2023 first-round draft pick, which will come in handy because the Mitch Trubisky-led Steelers will underachieve and will give me, let's say, the 12th overall pick and my own 16th overall pick, 2 top 20 picks to play with in the 2023 draft. I might not get my hands on the Alabama quarterback Bryce Young, but maybe it's Jake Haener from Fresno State. Maybe it's Jaron Hall from BYU. I have chips to play with in 2023. Okay?
Yeah, I love it so far. Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, this is where this is what I've been advocating for. You need the second first round pick so you can get higher up in that first round. Yes.
And
yes.
so the
Kirk is crying in the corner right now, but I'm okay with that.
And listen, Kirk, let's work together. We're certainly not tanking here. We're still.
Told me you wouldn't do this.
It's a great Kirk impression. And so the final piece of the puzzle here is 2023 is truly a sort of like shoulder shrug year of, well, we're not going to be terrible. You still got Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson and whatever other pieces have been drafted. You got Christian Darrisaw, Brian O'Neill. So you're not going to be a train wreck. But
Right.
2023 is a year of transition where you're just trying to make room cap-wise. You've got your first-round draft pick quarterback ready in the wings. In 2024 offseason, in 2 years, arrives with a boatload of salary cap space, a young quarterback on a rookie scale contract for 4 more years who sat for his first year, observed, and Justin Jefferson emerging into his prime, Christian Darrisaw emerging into his prime. That is my 2-year plan.
Reckless speculation.
I wish I could put you in charge right now. Wish I could put you in charge of this whole thing right now. Yes, this is I love this. I love this. I don't even think it's reckless. I think it's freestyle responsible speculation.
That's right.
You're sort of taking a step back in 2023 that I thought and advocated for them to take back in 2022. It's just a necessary step in the progression. Yeah, I love it. I love it. And I think the quarterback, I honestly don't see how you don't find a way to do what you said at quarterback. Like that one, if they don't, I'll be shocked.
And maybe from an ownership standpoint, this actually works better for them because listen, all right, we can sell the illusion of competing, or maybe we actually do compete in 2022. But either way, like we can hold fans' interest and say, hey, new coach, offensive minded, we're going to run this thing back and we're going to do it the right way, and people are going to be held captive until November or December or beyond, right?
Yeah.
And then when and if they hit the glass ceiling, they can start to sell in the first round of 2023. Oh, listen, things haven't gone the way that we wanted, but now we've got a quarterback of the future. Like it from a fan interest standpoint, it kind of bridges that gap closer. So I'm helping the owners, I'm helping the interest of the franchise.
I like what you're doing.
And I'm clearing a winning window in 2024.
Ask me what my confidence is right now that the plan that you just presented to us is going to be executed in any way, shape, or form for 2023.
So 10 being full confidence, 1 being zero confidence.
Correct.
What's your level?
About a 2.
Wow.
About a 2. I can't decide what they're doing.
Reckless speculation.
And here's the problem. If ownership gets out of the way, I think you just nailed it. Like, I think you nailed what they should do. And you know what? I think what football people, how they think that there's a good chance what you just said would be the plan. But it's just so quite apparent that there's so many people involved in the decisions right now. I guess my question is, a year from now, will they sort of defer to the football people?
By the way, we can do this on Purple Daily today, but Caesars has put out over/under win totals. They like to wait a few weeks after free agency opens to see rosters, get completed.
Yeah.
But they put out the over/unders. What do you think the Vikings' current Caesars Sportsbook over/under is?
Vegas is often not kind. I'm going to put it at 7.
Dex?
I'm looking at it, so I actually I can see it. I have TweetDeck open at all times, so I know exactly what it is.
8.5. It's 8.5, which is, I suppose, if you had a franchise over/under win record for like 30 years of a franchise's history, it would be 8.5 for the Vikings. So
way to be average.
So if you're a fan, like if you think that the Vikings are a coach away from 4 extra wins, I mean, you should be hammering the over with your money. Bet responsibly, but you should be hammering the over in that case.
Anyway, bet responsibly. I always love that one. Gambling problem. Well, yeah, that's why I like to gamble, huh? All right. So here's mine. I would like to go to St. Paul. St. Paul, Minnesota, where the Minnesota Wild reside at the XL Energy Center, and I think the expectations are pretty doggone high. But you have a team that is going to be right up against the salary cap because of the Parisian and Suter contract dead, basically, to use a football term, dead cap hits, which are going to hit next year. So there are cap hits that the team is carrying right now, but they're not prohibitive. They will be for the next 3 years, starting in 2022-23. That figure, $12.7 million combined of dead cap space. The cap for 2022-23, which was just approved, it looks like, as a $1 million increase. Bravo. Great job at the league meetings just held in Florida, will be 82.5. The Wild right now have about, according to our friends at Cap Friendly, $8.18 million in cap space for 2022-23 with 17 spots taken. That will obviously change, but basically we're saying there's not a lot of room to operate here, and the next 3 years are going to be difficult. Difficult decisions have to be made. And the most difficult one, if you want to try and make it, and I think Declan Goff will agree, it's worth at least exploring, is what can you do to keep one Kevin Fiala, who was a restricted free agent last summer, signed a 1-year contract, gambled on himself, and has done fantastic. He will be a restricted free agent for 1 more year, this coming June and July. And after that will be unrestricted. So if you want to keep him and have any chance, you need to find a way to negotiate a long-term contract this summer, because if you don't, he is going to almost certainly explore the market as a unrestricted free agent, which he should. So how do you free up the space?
Reckless speculation.
And this is no guarantee Fiala takes what you're going to come with, but at least you'd like to have something. That's not a sign for one more year and let's explore it again next year, kid. Well, the obvious starting point is one Matthew Dumba. Defenseman, had a nice career here. The goals especially have not come like we thought that they might. He is an alternate captain, so he is, I don't know, I would call him beloved in the room, but he's certainly liked, and I think he's certainly a key part of the chemistry of this team. But this is where one must weigh chemistry with production. And keep in mind, Kevin Fiala does something that is damn hard to find. He scores goals. I mean, if you're a Wild fan, what have you learned? Boy, it's hard to find guys that can score goals. So Matthew Dumba, here's the thing that makes some sense about trading him in July or June. Matthew Dumba and Fiala are both under contract through 2022-23. So they both have 1 year left. Matthew Dumba, with his contract, which I just need to look at here quickly.
$6 million.
Okay, $6 million for next year, and then he hits unrestricted free agency. Now, here's where it gets interesting. I don't want a player back for him because I don't want to take on salary back. I'm trying to clear salary. I want draft picks back. I want draft picks back, and here's where I'm going to gamble on my team. There is a chance that the next couple years could be rough. There's also a chance your good young talent is going to lift you up and you're going to be a playoff team. You don't know for sure, but you have a feeling at least. And so if I'm going to trade Dumba, what I want back is high draft picks. Now, I think because we are Minnesota sports fans, we tend to get caught up in price points sometimes and think, well, that guy's going to get me a lot back. I mean, that guy's going to get me a really good player. That's not the case. He might get you a good player, but he's not going to get you a great player. You're also probably not going to get the return that you expect back. What I want for Dumba is I want a first-round pick from a team and like a third-round pick from a team. But I'm mostly looking to dump salary, and I hopefully before I do this have started my Fiala negotiations to have a feeling here. Because what I'm going to need Fiala to do is sign a long-term contract at which I can have a chance to keep him at a reasonable but very high price. Here's the second part of my freestyle reckless speculation plan.
Freestyle.
That was part one.
That's part one.
Freebasing reckless
So
speculation.
I have shed $6 million. And just to circle back for a quick second, part of the reason why I kept Goligoski for 2 years at $2 million per is to have as much depth as possible cheaply on my blue line, because I'm probably not going to immediately replace Dumba with a player as good. So like I'm going to have to, but again, ask yourself, what's hardest to find? Goal scoring is really hard to find. The second part of my freestyle reckless speculation plan is this one. I'm going to dump Cam Talbot. $3.7 million in the last year of his contract in 2022-23.
Going to sell high off of the wonderful stretch of play at the end of the season here.
Exactly
Look at
right.
this guy coming into form.
But no, more importantly, I'm just going to flat out sell. So if I can sell high, great. If I can't, I don't care.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because what I'm hopefully going to do, because believe it or not, his cap hit right now in the last year of his contract is a very reasonable $3.5 million, is keep Ziflower. I'm going to keep the Flower because here's the thing about this guy. He wants to go back to Pittsburgh eventually, but the Flower had never played in Minnesota before. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you get this guy, his wife and kids here, this guy is going to love it here. Minnesotans are respectful. They will love him, yet they will ignore him enough that he will be happy so he can go grocery shopping.
He won't get mobbed. He'll be able to.
Exactly right. And what I want to do here is transition for 2023-24, hopefully, to Jesper Wallstedt being my goaltender, who will be about 21 by that time. So Fleury is the perfect transitional guy. I will get a goaltender for next year who can rotate and who can play, but I'll get a cheaper goaltender, the price point, right? So my two ideas are Talbot gone for sure, Dumba gone for sure, and then I'll just have some natural guys come off my books as well in an attempt to keep Kevin Fiala, because I think you've got to at least take a shot at keeping a guy with a skill set that you cannot simply go out and just replace these.
Reckless speculation.
All right.
I think it also depends, too, on how hard Fiala wants to play hardball in those negotiations. Because I think he was playing hardball this last summer. He's going to play even more hardball this summer.
Yep,
and if you can convince him that, hey, Greg Wyshynski talked about this with us on Mackey and Judd, friend of the show, that hockey players are more likely to buy into a culture than seek big-time contracts when it works. And I think Fiala could eventually be talked into that, but I think the floor of what you're asking for him to accept is probably 6.5. I don't think he's going to accept anything less than 6.5 per AAV, which is hard to fit under.
And Kirill's at 9. I mean, this is not
Speculation.
what I'm suggesting here is not simple, but I think it's worth a shot. And I'm trying to figure out. So the one thing that I keep going back to is, what is Billy doing with Goligoski? He gave him 2 more years at $2 million AAV, and which I hate this part, a no move clause, which I really don't like. But anyway, he's doing something here. Like he didn't just freak out and decide to give out a questionable contract. He's setting the table for something. And I think it might be a Dumba move. Not that Goligoski is going to replace Dumba, but I think they're trying to build up their chips defensively. And my guess is he knows Kevin Fiala is going to be incredibly hard to replace, and it's worth at least a shot in trying to keep him. And Dumba, ever since he got hurt in that fight with Kachuk about Dex, 3 years ago now, 3+ years ago, the goal scoring, the shot, it's never really come back. Like one of his things was, and I like him, but that shot was lethal. And that year he was off to he had like 10 goals. It was ridiculous. Yeah. That's really never completely come back. And so I think the skids are being greased here for something. And my guess is it's somehow in a backdoor way involves Kevin Fiala.
Look at that. See, okay. Just playing GM here.
Yep.
Reckless speculation Thursday. And that's go back like 5 years ago. In fact, let's get into this here. So every week Declan goes back in the Twitter archives and finds old incriminating tweets about us. And when the Twins signed Chris Archer earlier this week, it was a good reminder of the birth of Reckless Speculation Thursday, where we used to do a 4-hour radio show on 1500 ESPN. And it's a lot of time. A lot of time to just be with your thoughts and throwing stuff out there. And 16 segments a day. You're not always... Here's a little inside secret. Anyone who's doing a 3 or 4 hour radio show every day, they're not throwing their fastball for all 12 or 16 segments.
They're Jamie Moyer.
Yeah.
Just a long game.
We were looking for some fun things to do and talk about during a dead period. And I don't even know, I think I threw it out there. I think I said, Miguel Sano's been disappointing. He's hits for power, but he's basically he's like Adam Dunn. But the league doesn't think that yet. So could you sell high on Miguel Sano? This is how I remember it anyways. I guess Declan's got the actual audio for how the conversation played out. But Miguel Sano for Chris Archer. Would you pull the trigger? And we took calls on it and stuff. So, did you find something?
So I found something. This was also pre my second act at 1500 AM NKSTP. So there was a little audiogram that was released in early 2018. And this might have been one of the first reckless speculation ideas that was ever thrown out on
This was
SKOR
the
North.
first one. This is the first one ever. Yes.
So let's play this clip of you two bantering about this for a couple minutes here.
So we've been all in on Chris Archer reckless speculation.
Reckless speculation.
These last couple days, because Lavelli Neal reported that the Twins have made an offer to the Rays for Chris Archer and that the Rays want Max Kepler in return in some package. Last segment, you said you would trade Royce Lewis to the Rays in a package. So Royce Lewis, Max Kepler, and maybe something else
a lower level
for Chris Archer.
Pitching prospect, yes.
So you would trade the number 1 overall pick for Chris Archer.
Takes a lot of guts to do what I did last segment.
It does. Absolutely. And I think in general, if you're able to trade lottery tickets, which minor league players are lottery tickets. Now, some of them, if you were drafted in the 8th round and you're in single A, maybe your lottery ticket percentage is 2%. If you were a first round draft pick, 15th overall pick, and you're in AAA and performing well, then I think your lottery ticket is more like 50-60% to have a successful big league career. And then there's percentages like what percent chance are you an all-star? What percent chance are you a complete bust who never touches the big leagues? The lottery ticket is different when it's the number one overall pick. So I just want you to know what you're getting into.
Yep.
If
All
you
right.
commit to a Royce Lewis for Chris
So you're
Archer
my guy.
trade.
You're going to tell me.
This is all hypothetical, but if you pull the trigger on this, just know that the number one overall pick is much, much more often a cashed-in lottery ticket than a second-round pick, Steven Gonsalves, guys like that. I'm going to read you the names of number one overall picks going back the last 2 or 3 decades. Basically, if you didn't suffer from some sort of a drug addiction or major off-the-field problems,
Yeah.
you're awesome, okay?
All right.
Let's start with, and we'll start a few years ago. Like Mark Appel's going to be a bust, but let's start a few years ago just so we can give some ample time here. So Carlos Correa, 2012, one of the best players in the big leagues. Garrett Cole, 2011, not a top tier pitcher, but very, very good, a playoff rotation caliber pitcher. Bryce Harper, Steven Strasburg, back to back, one of the best pitchers and maybe the best hitter in baseball. Tim Beckham, 2008, and you might think, oh, that guy's a bust, right? It took him a while. He was awesome last year.
So the clip does cut off right there, unfortunately, and I can't
Tim
find more
Beckham.
audio. But you threw out a Tim Beckham, who's now
He's
on the
back.
Twins.
He just got
Just get cut
sent
today.
down to minor league camp today. So Chris Archer was an all-star in 2017. He had 249 strikeouts in 201 innings. And that was what he was coming off. And the Twins were coming off an 85 and 77 seasons. We were looking at saying, man, you add a pitcher like Chris Archer, you could go to the promised land.
Go time.
Judd, I think you're muted there. There we go.
I was. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You were right at the time. And you know what? So if the deal was back then, the Rays were asking for Max Kepler plus. I'd love to know what plus was. Because
Now
trading
think-
Max Kepler would have been a good move.
Well, Kepler was amazing for the Bomba Squad Twins in 2019, but that trade would have blown up in their faces because Max Kepler's been disappointing. But that one, like what he gave you in 2019, Royce Lewis is still a complete wild card. But having that trade chip for something else now could be valuable. And Chris Archer had a decent season between the Rays and the Pirates in 2018, and then his arm basically started to blow up. So that's the risk. Like you look to trade for a 28-year-old pitcher and he's got a lot of miles on his arms, but that was the birth of speculation.
And the Pirates got it robbed. The Pirates got absolutely robbed. So
Yeah, Glasnow and Meadows.
yeah, that was
Woof.
if they had gotten
now Meadows and the Pirates sent Archer and somebody named Shane Baz to the Tampa Bay Rays.
Shane Baz, great
Shane
guy,
Baz is
great character guy.
Did you know that Chris Archer in 2011 was traded by? So he was with the Cubs at one point. So he was traded by the Cubs to the Rays
Yes,
for Matt
to the Rays.
Garza.
Yes,
No, the Garza trade, yeah.
yeah, I think he was drafted by the Cubs.
Garza's been in some big time trades. Crazy. So all right, there you have it. It's old tweets exposed right there. The birth 4 years ago.
I had forgotten that there was an actual report, though. Then I had forgotten that part of the story, that there was a report, and I think that's where we said you should trade at that point, Miguel Sano.
You know, actually, if I remember right, that was the birth of like the sounder and the segment of Reckless Speculation. I'm pretty sure we broached the actual conversation the summer before because we broached it before it was a report.
We did, okay.
And then it became a report, and we're like, "Oh my God, this is a thing. This is interesting." Sometimes
clip
reckless
is so old.
speculation is true.
Garrett Cole was not that good yet.
Yeah, that's what Bill said.
That's how old that. That's how old.
Not a
that
frontline
clip
guy.
is. Yeah,
Caliber.
that might have been
pitcher.
that might have been still Pirate Garrett Cole then. I'm sure it was.
Yeah, it was. It was Pirate Garrett Cole.
He had not found spider
went to-
tack yet.
Right. He
No.
hadn't started to cheat like a cheater that Josh
cheats.
Donaldson, his now teammate, accused him of being.
Okay, so
That's
I'm just looking at the Twins here. The Twins in 2017, that was the year where that was Falvey and Levine's first year, right? And they chose to stand pat at the trade deadline, and then they went on a huge run after they stood pat at the trade deadline. I think we had the conversation in like June or July of that year. I'm like 75% sure on this. Man, the Twins
Right.
are in it. They're competitive. They're above 500. They just
Well,
need
they
a
did-
pitcher.
They didn't stand pat. They got and then traded after one start in
Jaime.
Oakland, Jaime Garcia, right?
That was weird. Yeah.
And
Super
the
weird.
players got all ticked off, and the whole thing was very odd.
Dozier got mad.
Was the Garcia trade when they got Jay Cave back
From
the
I
Yankees?
think it might have been.
I think they got Jay Cave from the Yankees.
They got him from the Yankees, but I think that was in 2018,
Okay.
and they had moved not Lomo, because Lomo somehow made it through the entire roster, but
Greatest boombox of all time, dude.
yeah, the big
He
the
had
big
a
boombox.
Love
But they
that
got
boombox.
Cave and Tyler Austin from the Yankees. I
Okay.
think in 2 separate trades, and I'm just forgetting what it was.
Tyler Austin. Well,
Yeah, there's a poll, huh?
I think he was in Japan playing.
All right. Good session, boys. Good session.
Yeah, great
Well,
reckless speculation. Great little freestyle. We should bring that back more often.
Doogie will be back tomorrow. So also get your feedback questions in. Feedback Friday on the show tomorrow. And also Purple Daily reads the comments on Saturday. So hit us up on the SKOR North app and send us your comments, questions, critiques, concerns. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Mackey and Judd.